Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a feeling every leader knows all too well: pressure. It's just part of the job, right? But how you handle it, well, that can define not just your success, but the well-being of your entire team. Okay, let's just sit with this metaphor for a second, because it's perfect. Managing leadership pressure really does feel this delicate, this high stakes. You're holding all this tension, trying to carefully let the air out, knowing that one wrong move, one little slip, could cause a huge, damaging pop. I mean, that feeling of holding something fragile that's about to explode, it's pretty universal. We all try to keep it together, but what happens when we just can't? What are the real, actual consequences when that balloon finally bursts? So let's start right there. Let's really get into what's at stake when that pressure balloon starts to inflate, because this isn't just about you, it's about everyone you lead. This slide gets at a core truth that the ancient poet Archilochus knew thousands of years ago. We all hope we're going to be the calm, cool, collected hero in a crisis. But the reality? Pressure hijacks our best intentions. If you haven't trained for it, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall back on your deepest, most automatic habits. And here's the thing. Your stress is never just your stress. It spills over. It has this massive ripple effect. Research shows a leader's chronic stress directly tanks their team's performance, ramps up anxiety, and can even drive your best people right out the door. And yeah, it follows you home too, straining the relationships that matter most. Okay, so if the stakes are really that high, how can you tell when you're approaching your own breaking point? The trick is learning to read your own internal pressure gauge before it hits the red. And this requires some real, brutal honesty with yourself. Are you noticing any of these signals? Maybe you're putting off that tough conversation, or you find yourself snapping at colleagues, or you're just staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. These aren't just bad days. They're warning signs that your resilience is wearing dangerously thin. And remember, it's not always about a catastrophic meltdown. That's not the only risk. Sometimes pressure is more like a slow leak, a gradual decline where you become less effective, more withdrawn, and you just quietly burn out. And honestly, that can be just as damaging over time. So let's get practical. Let's build our toolkit for how to safely untie that knot. These are real strategies you can use to release that pressure before it gets to a breaking point. The F.I.R.S.T framework is such a powerful tool for this. It stops that huge, overwhelming feeling of pressure by breaking it down into manageable pieces. So instead of just feeling stressed, you walk through it step by step. What are my specific feelings? What are my real interests here? How are my relationships holding up? What's the reality of the situation? And what personal tolls is this taking on me? All of a sudden, that vague anxiety becomes a clear problem you can actually solve. Now here's what's happening in your brain. Under pressure, your impulsive, emotional system 1 brain, your fight or flight instinct, it just takes over. The whole key to staying composed is to intentionally slam on the brakes and switch on your more thoughtful, logical system 2 brain. So how do you actually do that? How do you switch from system 1 to system 2 in the heat of the moment? It's actually pretty simple. You use this technique. First, create space. Literally just step away. Then take time to let your emotions cool down. And finally, find the right opportunity to respond. That little pause, it buys your rational brain the critical moments it needs to catch up, and it can save you from a reaction you'll absolutely regret later. Okay, now let's talk about a really dangerous mental trap that pressure sets for all of us. When we feel threatened, our focus instinctively narrows, and that can cause some huge problems. I mean, this survival instinct was fantastic for escaping lions on a savanna, right? But in the modern workplace, it can seriously backfire. It makes you fixate on your own fear or on one tiny detail, and you completely miss crucial information, other people's perspectives, and the actual long-term goal. The good news is you can actively fight tunnel vision. Instead of getting furious, force yourself to get curious. Zoom out and ask what really, truly matters here. And then, and this is a big one, challenge your own assumptions. Genuinely ask yourself, what if I'm wrong about this? That mental shift can completely change the game. Thriving under pressure isn't just about surviving the moment, It's about building the strength and the stamina to handle challenges for the long haul. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Just look at this number. 43%. That's staggering. We're talking about nearly half of leaders being chronically sleep deprived. And that directly messes with your decision-making, your self-control, your emotional regulation, basically all the skills you need most when you're under pressure. Rest isn't a luxury, people. It is a core leadership competency. And here's another energy drain: unresolved issues. Think of them like slow leaks in your personal energy tank. Every argument you just swept under the rug, or every little bit of resentment you're holding onto, it makes you more fragile and way more likely to pop under the next wave of pressure. And the impact is crystal clear. Look at this data. For a third of people, these ongoing resentments are directly harming their mental health. Holding on to grudges literally takes up your mental bandwidth and wears you down, leaving you with way less capacity to handle new challenges. So when you do make a mistake, and listen, you will, we all do, when you do pop that balloon, don't see it as a failure. See it as data. Every mistake is a chance to learn about your breaking points, to deepen your roots, and to become stronger and more resilient for the next storm. Ultimately, you can't tackle every pressure at once. It's impossible. So take a moment and just reflect. Of all the pressures you're facing right now, all those inflated balloons, which one needs your attention the most? Pick one, start there, and begin that process of carefully, calmly letting the air out.